come to this happy place, welcome.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por
We
favor,
invite you, if
manténganse
you
alejados
dare,
de las
to
puertas.
visit tonight's episode in Twist Indiscreet Travel Doorless Chambers.
Hello and welcome to Miles from Main Street, your Far From Disney podcast. My name is Mikhailo,
And I'm Brian,
and we're here to talk about Disney World,
but especially coping away from Disney.
which we know a lot about being from the Midwest. Here at Miles from Main Street, our preferred travel agency is Magical Vacations by Kimberly. Kimberly is a Disney expert and can handle all of your Disney planning needs. She can also plan Universal and all major cruise lines. Contact Kimberly at magicalvacationsbykimberly@yahoo.com.
And find her on Facebook and Instagram under Magical Vacations by Kimberly.
So today on Miles from Main Street, we're having an open discussion about a couple different things. We're going to start with Disney things that we've done this week, and then we're going to jump into other aspects of social media and other things, other Disney things that we've taken in this week, this year, our whole life. We're going to go over some of the things that we like to watch online and some of the things that we like to do. So it's going to be kind of more of an open discussion than something super structured, which is kind of we're trying to get away from the more structured things and just kind of talk openly about Disney and our fandom. So I wanted to start with something that I know, Brian, you and I have a large affinity for, and it's probably one of the big reasons that we started this podcast was listening to Mr. Lou Mongello. He's just everything he does is so organized and it's such good content. I remember when I was first getting into Apple Music, I noticed that all of his walkthroughs for the Magic Kingdom were on there, of all the different lands. And so it was really cool to be able to download all of those and listen to those. And he actually got me to buy, because there was one album that wasn't free on Apple Music, so he actually got me to buy Liberty Square and listen to his walkthrough journey of Liberty Square, which it's just chock full of all kinds of amazing information, and it's the kind of stuff that I really enjoy. These little Disney touches that just Lou knows everything about that park, and so it's great to kind of listen to him talk about all these amazing little Disney details.
Yeah, Lou was where I kind of got started with my social media / online extravaganza. Obviously I've enjoyed Disney my entire life. It was kind of sitting dormant for a while, and we got back from a trip, and we were going back like right away. We're going to take another trip immediately. And so in between that time, those two trips, I wanted to find something. I wanted to do more, learn more. I wanted to immerse myself as much as I could. And that's where Lou came in. He was the first podcast I had listened to, and his information is second to none, really. He's got every detail, and he knows every tidbit that's there to know. His audio tours, as you were talking about, I've listened to one of them. I believe it was the Main Street one. It's awesome. It's incredible. The amount of work that he put into those is well worth the money.
Yeah, and so to kind of tie this into the beginning of our podcast, I've started to listen to some of his older episodes, because he's been doing this for a long time, and I jumped in kind of the past 2 years. I had always, Lou isn't really where I started. There's another group that I'll talk about that I first really started to listen to religiously. But Lou, within the past 2 years, I've really started to get into. So recently, one of the things that I've been doing is going back and listening to those older episodes, because he's just got a lot of content on there. I love his top 10 episodes and stuff like that. So that's one thing that I've done this week and the past couple of weeks, is kind of like going back and listening to Lou's old podcasts.
I need to point out, when I first started listening, I picked up a couple of episodes here and there, and then I did the same thing. I went back to the beginning and I started listening from there. And it was episode number 6 with Charles Ridgway, who is a publicist for Disney for many years. He started at Disneyland and opened a bunch of parks, including Disney World and Disney Paris. And anyway, his interview with him is what hooked me into Lou's podcasts and to digging even deeper. The stories that Charles Ridgway tells really hit home with me, because they're the historical type, really discussing some of the fun little things that have happened at Disney, how they got there, all the fun stuff that you don't know when you're just there. So, episode 6 is always going to be a big bright spot for me.
Cool. So, what's something, Brian, that you've done this week that is Disney related?
Today in particular was a pretty big Disney day for me. So we have a friend that lives near Disney World, and we talk to her every so often. And we were talking last night, and she says, "Hey, what do you need from the Magic Kingdom? I'm going tomorrow." And I'm like, "What?" So yeah, we spent some money today at the Magic Kingdom, and I didn't even leave my couch. So
wow.
It was fun. She was at the Emporium, and she was messaging me about the things she was finding for us. That we kind of gave her a list last night, and so she was messaging me, and at one point I said, "I'm sorry we're taking so long on this," and she's like, "It's fine. The kids are watching a parade. They've got the cavalcades coming around right now." So I sent her back a message saying, "I want to watch a parade," with a sad face, because I haven't been there in a long time. So next thing I know, I'm getting a phone call from her. The next cavalcade is coming along, and here I am on Main Street watching the princesses come by. So that was pretty awesome. That was fun. She took me on a walk over to Frontierland after that, and they were heading up into the Swiss Family treehouse. So it was fun today. She ended the day letting me know that she picked up the new white Christmas tree popcorn bucket.
Yeah.
So have you seen it? Yeah, it looks great.
I've seen that. Yeah.
So I can't wait to get that from her.
So basically, you got your own private live stream. That's very cool.
I did for the one cavalcade. Yeah, it was great.
That's awesome.
She was really good for us today. She always is, but yeah, so it was a fun Disney day. We finished the day watching Molly from allears.net.
Yeah.
She's one of our go-tos on YouTube, and she was stuck in Liberty Square. Sorry for that. But she was doing a bunch of weird little challenges that her producer was making her do. So it was kind of funny watching that. She's walking around Liberty Square, what she calls the most boring land in Magic Kingdom. But she had to make a pilgrim hat. At one point she's saying, "Hi, I'm a pilgrim," to people. So it was fun. It's fun watching stuff like that.
Yeah. So to kind of piggyback on that, another YouTuber that I like to watch is Tim Tracker. And I know, Brian, you enjoy Tim Tracker as well.
Oh, yes.
And just to give you a little bit of background on Tim Tracker, they're not specifically a Disney vlogger. They're kind of more like Orlando. Like they'll vlog themselves doing all kinds of stuff. They'll be at Universal Studios and stuff like that. So they're kind of just it's a lot of theme parks, but it's really just kind of it started as a vlog for I think it was like Tim and his parents because they lived so far away, so they started to vlog themselves every day so that I mean, I think it was something to do with like their parents could see them or something like that. And then it started to get popular, and then it actually turned into an actual vlog that people wanted to see. But they end up going to Disney a lot with Tim Tracker, and so it's definitely one of the ones that I love to watch. And Tim is a really cool guy, and one of my favorite parts is when you watch a Tim vlog at Disney, it feels like you're walking through Disney with a friend because he's so cool, he's so charismatic. He definitely I feel like if Tim and I were close to each other and like we had met each other, I feel like we'd be friends. he's just that maybe that's a little too maybe I'm thinking a little too highly of myself that it would be my friend, but he's just such a cool guy, and that's kind of how I feel when I watch his vlogs. Is I'm hanging out at the parks with a friend, so that's what I love. And Tim does a lot of those same things, like challenges, like park challenges. I love when he will go into the park and try to hit all the roller coasters or try to hit every single mountain or something like that. They'll do that every so often, and I like that. And that's the dream. If I could just go to Magic Kingdom just to ride a couple different rides or find out if I can hit all of these rides, that would be super cool.
Yeah, we're the same way. We refer to it as Tim and Jen, and now Jackson. We don't, it's not the Tim Tracker or anything. So for whatever reason, they're very relatable, and they're incredible to watch. We used to watch them every night, regardless of whatever the content was. We've since reduced down to just watching Disney type content. I don't know. I don't care if they go to Target, I guess, but I know a lot of people do enjoy that. So, yeah, but like you said, walking around Disney with Tim and Jen, it's like you're with them for the day, and they just take you to places, and lately it's been a lot of food, and so you get to learn a lot about the food that they have at Disney and the new treats. And so not much more to say on that. I mean, it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, and I'd have to say with Disney vloggers and just kind of like Disney content creators in general, everyone loves to talk about the food because Disney has great food. And I feel like it's just something easy to go into the parks and be like, I'm going to try this and have this food and then talk about how good that food was. It's just good content. I mean, hell, it's stuff that I love to watch. I'll watch people go to Disney and have these amazing meals all day.
I never knew I could enjoy watching people eat so much,
Yeah.
And there are days that like Tim will go to try every new Christmas treat. Like there was a recent one like that. And I think he ate 15 sugary treats, and it's like, what are you doing?
It's
I
like
don't know how he can handle something like that.
Yeah, it's like when I think this was last year, where Tim is a big connoisseur of hot dogs, and he ate all of the holiday hot dogs that they had at Casey's Corner.
And they had a new one every day. So...
Yeah, and so he went every day and ate hot dogs. Oh my god.
Yeah, and then he did a 1-foot-long or 2-foot-long hot dog challenge or something around Orlando.
I think that was the last one actually or no, maybe that was just a foot-long hot dog, but that was the last one of those holiday hot dogs. And I remember watching that, and Tim was just over hot dogs that week.
Yeah, but I think you wanted to talk about the Diz a little bit. Another group that we pay attention to. They seem to be more of a newsworthy group. They talk a lot. Their weekly live show on YouTube is all news, and they've kind of started talking about their opinion on maybe current events. But they also have a lot of other planning type shows. They have a best and worst. They have top 5 type shows. But they've branched out into cruise line and DVC and moving to Orlando. They have a lot of content in those areas too. So I started watching just the news show weekly and just trying to keep up with content that way from as what's going on at Disney World for the week.
Yeah, this one is pretty near and dear to my heart because it was what really kind of catapulted me into the Disney social media fandom. I was always a big Disney fan, but really kind of when I found the Diz and when I started watching the Diz religiously, that's like kind of what really pushed me over the edge to really get into this stuff. And you're totally right. They're super organized with everything that they do, which is why they have all these different types of content that they put out there. I started like you with the news and everything. And a lot of times they would do reviews on stuff like dining reviews and hotel reviews. And I used that a lot with kind of trying to get a sense of what some of these resorts were going to be like if I stayed there. So I definitely used that with planning and kind of trying to understand where it was I wanted to go and what I wanted to experience. And they're all very smart. They're all very smart people. They're also very opinionated. So and I think that, I mean, honestly, I think that helps with kind of getting decent information and trying to decide on your own what you want. And that's one thing that they do bring up when they do these reviews is that these are just their opinions. But their leader, Pete Werner, he was something like a hotel like that's what he did. Like his job was to review hotels. So that's something that I like to keep in mind, and it's cool to watch him go through and review hotels the way that he does. So I definitely felt like that was really beneficial for me for planning trips and stuff like that.
And he's very knowledgeable. They all are very knowledgeable. He really runs a tight ship. His employees are really some of the best in the Disney lexicon, and they do a really good job, and they can be trusted on what they're saying. I found over the years that you learn what they like and what they don't like, and how you agree with those likes, and that's very helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. Again, it's something that's real near and dear to my heart, and that doesn't come with some certain things that I know that they tend to do is they get a little preachy sometimes with certain things, which it's like I understand. They're all very highly opinionated and they're all very smart. So when they notice things that are wrong or if they notice things that they disagree with, they do tend to get a little preachy with some of those things. I've at this point now I've started to take it with a grain of salt a little bit. Just because I know deep down that they all love Disney. They wouldn't be doing what they're doing if they didn't. But that does come up sometimes. Although there are some times where it's completely warranted, where Pete will kind of get on his high horse about something that is totally warranted that some people are doing. So,
but that aside, I think the information you're getting out of them is entertaining and it's useful. So another high recommend there.
Definitely.
Yeah. So There's a lot of live streamers that I've been picking up recently. I think the big ones for me are Resort TV one,
Mm-hmm.
and Corey Meets World is a good friend of theirs, so I've been watching those two.
Man, we should have done a top. Well, it's a good thing we didn't do a top 10 because you basically just like took another two of my another two of my answers here. But yeah, I started watching Resort TV one when they would start to upload the must dos on YouTube. Because I've said it before on this podcast. I love the Disney must dos in the hotels. And what Resort TV one will do is they'll go in and they'll image capture the whole entire must dos with all the different commercials and everything on it. And then they'll upload that to YouTube. I love putting that on a playlist and just sitting back at work and playing the must dos and pretending like I'm working at a Disney hotel. That's always great. But they also do, like you said, they do live streams of the park, and I've started to really enjoy those live streams a lot. And it kind of those live streams make me feel like I'm there in the moment. These other YouTubers they'll upload things like 2 or 3 days after they've done it. That's cool to kind of see how things are going, but like kind of to feel like you're seeing the parks live and you're seeing what's happening. You definitely feel a little bit more connected when you watch something like that.
Yeah, and I found that when I'm working, I can have that on in the background and be, you know, it puts me a little more at ease, I guess. It lowers the stress level, and just having that background music and hearing them talk and being able to look up and um, see my parks,
Yeah.
if I can call them my parks. Um, yeah, and it's a 3-4 hour video, so having it on at work, you can just kind of let it sit there behind you, and it's really good stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a good way to zone out, and I've noticed I'll do that same thing, and I'm pretty sure uh, Brian, we've had days where we're both working and we're both watching the same the same live
Yes.
stream. And we'll say, "Oh, did you see this? Did you see this? They did that," and we'll be messaging each other back and forth. So that's always fun. Um, but I mean, yeah, it's a good way to just kind of like put it in the background. And most of the time, if I hear music from a certain part of the park that I know, I'll look up and check it out. Or if they mention that the cavalcade is coming down the street, and I'll check that out. And it's cool. It's just like a cool way to kind of tune into the parks live while it's happening.
It makes you feel a lot more connected
Hmm.
when you know that it's happening right as you're sitting there, instead of watching it the next day or watching a video that's been edited or something along those lines. It's
Hmm.
really fun to be able to know that you're kind of there.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with Corey Meets World. I love watching these live streams. Something that you and I have mentioned before, though, is with these 4 hour long live streams, it feels like about like an hour of that is spent calling out states where people live. And it's we've had this discussion before about how we think it's annoying, but then we geek out when they talk about our comment and talk about how we're from Wisconsin. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's fun to watch, and they got to have something to talk about too. So they
Hmm.
they do kind of start shouting everybody out that's watching, stuff like that. But that's fine. Um, as long as I'm seeing the park and I'm getting to see the different rides and whatever, I'm good with it.
You know, something else that I thought of just now is one of the things that I miss that you don't really see in ride throughs a lot are the queues. When you're walking through the queues and you're seeing all the cool detail in those queues. And that's something that you get a lot of times with these walkthroughs is them walking through the queue and it's just like you're literally experiencing the queue with them while you walk through there.
Right, yeah, you are. And we don't do the queues a lot when we're there because we're doing fast passes.
Mm-hmm.
So you miss those queues. So it's nice to also see the queues when they are waiting in line.
So I have I'll turn this into two because they're closely related in the type of content that they have, and with the fact that they're both in California. So there's Adam the Woo. I don't know if you've heard of him. And
Heard of him.
yeah. And then there's another one called Random Land. And Random Land is Justin Scard. I think that's his stage name. I don't know his real name. Justin Scard, and he is a little bit more into Disneyland because that's where he grew up. Grew up in Anaheim. And he does a lot of Disneyland vlogs, but he'll also come over to Disney World and do vlogs out there too. And these are, I think, with Random Land and Justin Scard, his personality is kind of what drove me to watch him more. Again, it's and actually Adam the Woo and Justin and Tim, they all know each other. They've all hung out before at the parks, and so it's kind of one big family here. But again, the same thing with Justin, where his personality matches that of mine, where he's definitely a kid at heart, and he seems like this really fun guy that would be fun to hang out with. And he's walking through Disney parks, and he's another one that his early vlogs were kind of information based, where he would walk through the parks and kind of talk about. I remember him talking about the old People Mover at Disneyland. It's just chock full of information. Adam the Woo, on the other hand, he got real big from how do I put this lightly? Like break-in videos. He would break into certain areas of the park that you're not supposed to go into. And this is not just Disney. It was kind of he would go to places that he wasn't supposed to be, and he got into a lot of trouble. He actually I think the story is that he lived in Florida and he was doing these vlogs at Disney World, and he got caught and he got banned from Disney World for life. There was a big vlog that he did talking about how he got banned and everything, and he understood the risk, and he understood that what he was doing was wrong, so he didn't cut down Disney or anything, because he understood that Disney was just doing what they were supposed to be doing. And so he ended up moving out to California and doing a bunch of vlogs out there and incorporating Disneyland into it. And then eventually Disney came around and said that he could come back to Disney World. So that was pretty exciting for him. But that was kind of his, and he doesn't do break-in videos anymore. That used to be a big thing back in the day on YouTube, where people would post videos of them breaking into some area that they're not supposed to go into. So he doesn't do those videos anymore. Now they're a lot more vlog based, of just him going to the parks and experiencing the parks. So he's another one that kind of under with the same lines of Justin Scard and even Tim. Kind of that same type of content, but they all kind of came from different backgrounds, where Justin came from California, Adam had his YouTube channel going, and Tim was just like a life thing where he was just vlogging his life. And they all came together, and Disney's the one big draw that draws them out and draws people to them. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I've never watched either one of them. I've seen them in some videos here and there with Tim, but yeah, I've never watched their shows, so I'll have to go check that out.
Yeah, there's a funny thing. They all of these YouTubers have certain silly things that they say. Tim has these funny phrases that he says, and so does Justin and Adam the Woo. But one of the things that Adam does is whenever he saw anybody with a handlebar mustache, which back in the day, Tim Tracker had a handlebar mustache, he would zoom in on him and say, "Tim Tracker," and that's I don't know why. I just always thought that was so funny that he would call Tim out that way with having a handlebar mustache. So yeah.
That explains it. I see Tim do that in his videos
Yes.
now,
Yep.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, whatever. But
Yeah. I think that was something that Adam started, and I think it was with Tim because it was a handlebar mustache that he would see everywhere. So
yeah, it's like I thinking of a Disneyland ride. There's a like cop or something that has a handlebar mustache. I can't remember which one it was
mhm.
now, but they zoom in. It might have been Mr. Toad's, actually.
It's actually the one I'm thinking of is at Casey's Corner with the baseball players because they have those
Oh, okay.
mustaches like that. It's not handlebar. I would keep saying that. It's not handlebar. It's like a twist mustache. Like you twist the ends up. Um, and that's the type of mustache that those baseball players have. And so I think Adam has done that before. So that's funny.
I always enjoyed Holy Macaroni
Yes.
from Tim. That was one of the first videos we watched. He was just constantly holy macaroni.
Yeah. So those were all the ones that I had.
I was going to mention some of the stuff I do on Facebook. I'm in a lot of groups on Facebook, Disney groups. Lou has a group. There's some unofficial Tim Tracker groups. The Diz have their groups. So I am following all of them. But I'm also in a just kind of a Disney fandom group. You and I are in a Haunted Mansion group as well. There's a lot of different things that most of my feed is full of Disney all day long,
Oh yeah.
which probably just keeps perpetuating the obsession, but all in good fun.
There's no problem
Uh,
there.
so yeah, there's Disney World Addicts. I believe you brought me to that one,
Mhm.
and that one's a nice, clean, positive group that people are sharing information, looking for information, finding news. Um, the Haunted Mansion group is great. They've got a lot of detailed information in there about the Haunted Mansion, its history, what might be going on, the collectibles coming out,
Mhm.
great stuff like that. So I would highly recommend looking on Facebook for different groups, but be careful because some of them, I've been in one that has not been that great. It
Mhm.
started good. It was something that I was enjoying. I was able to tune out some of the negativity, but after a while, it got to be a lot, and it wasn't good. So be careful. I'm not going to name that one. I don't want to bring anyone down, but just be careful with what you're in, because there's a lot of negativity around Disney World too, and I'm not about that. I enjoy the place. I want to enjoy it. So
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes from there's a lot of passionate people out there. So it's not that like these people are out looking to be mean about stuff. I think it just comes down to a lot of people are passionate about some of this stuff. I mean, there are those groups that get infiltrated by people who are just trying to be mean. Uh, but I feel like these Disney groups that do kind of go south, that's always kind of the issue is that people are super passionate about some of these things and a lot of times what can happen is people who are not as seasoned Disney goers will ask questions and stuff like that, and the people who are seasoned will kind of jump in and say something rude or something like that. Though that's mainly what I've seen, um, and it's just too bad because it's these groups are so great. Like when you find a really good group of um, Disney enthusiasts and everybody is on the same page as to what they love and what they love about these things and some people decide to ruin it because they want to feel like their knowledge base of Disney is superior to other people's, which I am fully aware. And this is one of those things that you kind of learn when you get older, is that the more you know about a subject, the more you know you don't know. This is something, and you always, once you start to understand that, that's when you know that you're starting to really understand certain things. The more that you know, the less you know. It's definitely a saying in theatrical community and the lighting community that I'm in. So it's just always, I'll always kind of remember that when you're in those groups. But it for the most part, all of these groups are great. Like the ones that you were mentioning, the Haunted Mansion group. And that's one thing that I love, is tailoring what I see from Facebook, and these groups can definitely do that because like you said, my feed is probably like 70% Disney, 20% hockey. So that's what my feed looks like. But it's great to have those things, those Haunted Mansion things to pop up, where it's just like solely people who are into Haunted Mansion, which is definitely me. I that's one of, if not my favorite ride. And so it's just go out there and see what's out there, and see which ones of these groups that you can join, and join the fandom. And that's one of the things that we wanted to do with this podcast, was to kind of help usher some of the newbies who are starting to get into Disney and starting to become a lot more interested in the Disney fandom, kind of helping usher them to the right places and kind of get them even more excited about it. Because that's what happened with us. We found all of these different avenues to put our fandom into, and we just went nuts with it.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of the I wouldn't say a lot, but a lot of times I'll see posts, people asking, what other videos do you guys watch? What other social media people do you pay attention to?
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to be able to say, well, here you go. Here's a good list of what we watch. And I know there are plenty of other people out there that we have not even
Mm-hmm.
thought of. So that I'm not aware of them,
Yeah.
So
There was one that I was going to mention, but it's not one that I've watched religiously. And I didn't write it down, but it's I think her name is Crazy Disney Lady. And she had it was just one of those things where I was looking for content. I think I was looking for live streams. I was trying to see who was out, who was live. And I stumbled upon her, and they're kind of Southern. They out of all the other YouTubers, they kind of have more of a Southern drawl, which I thought was going to be weird at first, but it's actually kind of charming. So that was one that I wasn't really. I was just looking for content. I wasn't looking for something to get into, but now I subscribed to them after I watched that live stream, because it was just like hanging out at the parks with these interesting people. And that happens a lot with me, where I'm just kind of like looking for content, and then I find something and I'm like, this is so cool, and I'll end up subscribing. And so then all their content will start popping up on my YouTube, and it's just a snowball, where now all of a sudden I've found somebody new. And this is anybody who knows me knows that I'm not good with finding new content. Like when it comes to binging new TV shows or anything like that. Like I recently found Community, the TV show, and I think it's amazing. And that came out way back in the day, like when I was in college. So yeah, it's for me, it's something fun to do. And if you're really into it, there's a lot out there for you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, please rate us on iTunes and subscribe. Email us at milesfrommainstreetpodcast@gmail.com with any thoughts, and visit us on Facebook under Miles from Main Street. We'll be bringing more to you weekly and look forward to talking to you then.
Until next week, remember,
some live close,
but most of us don't.
So let's talk about it.